Hey, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. I have a very good friend who happens to be black. And my friend believes that a race war is coming to the United States. And I agree. It's been coming for a long time. About 10 years ago, I sent a write-up from Matt Bracken to my friend and another friend of ours who also happens to be black about the coming Civil War, the coming race war, something like that. Bracken is a thinker, and he wrote a series of books that I highly recommend after my own. The what was it? Enemies, Foreign and Domestic. If you haven't read them, you should. But he also has a collection of his essays called, I believe, the Bracken Anthology, which you can buy off of his website on the internet. I suggest that you do. But the reason that I sent these this paper to my buddies is because Bracken does an excellent job of explaining the dangers of a race war to people depending on where they live. And that's what I want to talk a little bit about today. You know, the reasons that for these racial tensions, if we really wanted to go back and take a hard look at the invisible hand that's driving this, that'd take forever, and half the people wouldn't believe it. So I'm not going to go that deep. I'm simply going to say that there are people and groups, organizations, even governments, who have a vested interest in having us at each other's throats. And one of the easiest ways to get people to be at each other and hate each other is to do it along racial lines. In other places it's religious lines. That doesn't work so much here in the United States. So it's always been the low-hanging fruit, the easy way to go after race. Now, most people are decent. Most people, black or white, makes no difference, want nothing to do with racial anger or hatred, and they don't. They're just good folks. There are ignorant people on both sides who can be steered by leaders to hate and cause problems, and whose passions are easily inflamed, and they can be driven to violence that then begets bigger violence, that then begets more violence and wider violence, and violence that eventually has a potential to consume us all. We shouldn't allow ourselves to be, and the decent people, we don't allow ourselves to be swayed by these loudmouths and the ones trying to push this racial message. But there are growing numbers of each race that are becoming more and more volatile in their anger and hatred for people not like themselves in appearance. And I should say that because most people are alike. Doesn't matter their religion, their race, whatever. Most folks are honest and honorable people who want the best for themselves and their children. We're not talking about those people. We're talking about that lower level people of whatever race and religion that can be easily made to hate others. And that's where you set the spark. That's where these people of the hidden hand are setting the spark and causing these fires. And we're seeing the eruption of this in the riots across the United States. Police misconduct is being used as an excuse. And I'm also not going to get into that right now. But much of the information and some of the anger is fully understandable. Protesting is fully understandable. The riots are far beyond what's understandable. And much of the rioting and the destruction is based on wrong information and people not being willing to look into it deeper and accept the truth of situations. Okay, again, a little bit far afield of our topic today. My friend, my buddy that I originally talked to, recently showed me a couple of trailers for movies that are coming out. One is called American Skin, and another is called Equal Standard. I'm going to put the links to those movies down below here, or have the guru do it. And I suggest that everybody watch them. His concern, and I share his concern, is that these movies, waving at my neighbor going off, and my neighbor's taking their dog for a walk, that these movies are going to inflame the angers and hatreds against police, against different groups, and that is their purpose. One of them, I forget which one, is a Spike Lee movie. And these movies have a wide viewership. Apparently, I had not heard about them, but apparently they have a wide viewership among the black community. And having seen the trailer, I can understand how they would inflame anger and hatred against police, against other people. This is a danger. These are dangers coming. Now, we're coming into a summertime, and that's when things usually have a tendency to kick off. I've mentioned it before I think I just did in the one I did yesterday, but we have times now that remind me so much of when I was younger. I've mentioned that I was 14 during the riots here in Kansas City in 1968. And they were all over. They weren't just in Kansas City. They were in every major city across the country. And I remember the gunshots, and I remember the blocks burning, and I remember the National Guard in the streets, and I remember the police, and I remember how you couldn't buy gasoline because of all the gasoline bombs, and everybody's grass was high because you couldn't buy gasoline in a container. I remember the curfews. You couldn't be out after a certain time. It was a lockdown that it'd be a shame, but it wouldn't surprise me if we're going to be going through that again, because I fully expect for this violence to increase. These times are not fun times. They are dangerous times, and I think that's a message that I think more and more people need to understand. These are not just times that you see it on the news and go, oh, isn't that terrible? And I hate that. And this is beyond talking. And some people, if you watch them on the news, it's already beyond talking for them. And it could get to beyond talking for you. It doesn't matter where you live. 5 years ago, I would have to say that I did not know any white supremacists, that I know of. Nor did I know any white separatists that I know of. I will have to say that I now know some who have developed some of those feelings, and that is a shame. I do know a black separatist, and that's kind of interesting, and that also is a shame. And I won't go into all of my thoughts on that, and because everybody's entitled to their own thoughts and opinions, and people should be able to live with who they want to live with. But I would just say that it's a shame, and it is a seed of division from which we might not be able to rebound, to return. The danger that's posed by this elevating violence is that as these riots expand, as they continue, other people will be caught up in them. And pretty soon you'll have people being victimized, killed, who had nothing to do with these things going on. those people then will start to harbor hatred. And that expands like a ripple in a pond. You throw a rock in there and just watch those ripples go out. And as that violence expands, I think we have the potential for seeing a countrywide race war. It'll be the saddest thing that we've ever seen. And there will be people killed, possibly, who have absolutely no hatred for anyone else. But very possibly hatred will be created